So the last time we took a look at the Gigabyte GTX 950 OC edition graphic card, which has a base clock of 1102 MHz and a boost clock speed of up to 1279 MHz. It performed just as expected for a GTX 950, but it's a card with no backplate, no accessories, fans that don't turn off on idle, no case badge, and it was priced for 169.99 US dollars. But to be fair, it's a factory overclock unit and has dual 75 fan. But would it be possible to get a better card? Oh yes. This is a Zotac GTX 950 AMP Edition graphic card, a graphic card with a backplate and a dual 90 fan. This card's base clock is set at 1206 MHz with a boost clock speed of up to 1329 MHz. As an icing on the cake, Zotac provides a warranty extension after an online registration. A card with a higher clock speed, better looking aesthetics with a dual 90 fan, a backplate, and some accessories for $169.99. As always, let's take a look at this card and its performance. The actual model is the ZT90603010M. While it retains all the features that Nvidia provides with the GTX 950, this card has a dual DVI outputs. Then there's the HDMI and the DisplayPort. Zotac is even providing a DVI to VGA adapter just in case someone is really hanging on to a CRT. This card comes in a dual box packaging, further protected by a thick anti-static bubble wrap pack. Zotac has a label on the card to assure its users that the fan will turn off on idle to consume as less power as possible. You get a couple of reading materials, a Molex to 6-pin PCIe adapter, a DVI to VGI adapter, an installation disc, and a case badge inside. This is a dual slot card measuring in at 7.87 inch in length and 4.52 inch in depth. I measured the card since Zotac doesn't provide any dimension details of its graphic cards. They really need to start mentioning the card's dimensions so that users can take appropriate purchase decision. They also need to mention the minimum PCI slot requirement. I've mentioned the importance of the information in the Zotac GTX 980 Ti Extreme AMP Edition review, so I hope Zotac takes this feedback into consideration. The exo armor is well built just like in the GTX 960 AMP Edition, but the manufacturer provided some passive vents so that it won't act as a heat trap. The cooling shroud and the backplate look like a single unit, with a cooling shroud design with dual 90 fans, thus making it a very good card to look at. For cooling, there are dual 90 fans. The GPU heatsink uses aluminum fins and two copper heat pipes with a copper base for the core. Furthermore, there is a VRM sink on the card. Overall, I haven't seen this card crossing 72 degrees Celsius while testing. Now let's take a look at the performance of the graphic card and compare it with GTX 950 OC edition from Gigabyte and also the Zotac GTX 960 AMP edition to know where this card stands. As you can see from the benchmarks, it does seem to hover between Gigabyte GTX 950 OC card and the Zotac GTX 960 AMP variant. This can be seen throughout the 3D Mark benchmarks, though the gap between both the Zotac AMP cards are obvious in the Firestrike Extreme test. As you can see with the Sleeping Dogs benchmark, there's a gap of 10 FPS between them. With the highest preset, the GTX 960 is 4.5 to 8.1 frames per second behind the GTX 950 variants. With the Shadow of Mordor Ultra settings, the Zotac GTX 950 AMP edition stands almost head to head with its 960 variant. You should note that the GTX 950 uses the same core as the GTX 960, but with 2 out of 6 cores disabled. Just by the looks of it and with the visual comparison between the Gigabyte GTX 950 OC card and the Zotac GTX 950 AMP edition card, it feels that you are actually paying for the Zotac card. Both cards cost the same at the time when I'm making this video, So for many, this would be a no-brainer choice. And that matters when people spend money on a non-reference graphic card. You get a bit more factory overclock from Zotac compared to Gigabyte variant, so that's good. So to conclude this video, if you're looking to buy a GTX 950, a Zotac GTX 950 Amp Edition is one of the cards you can shortlist. Thank you for your time and you have a good day.